In this next article from the New York Post, France deploying riot police to enforce masks. The French government is sending riot police to Marseille in region in order to enforce mask requirements as more and more towns and neighborhoods are imposing mask rules starting Monday to slow rising infections. Government spokesperson Gabrielle Attal announced Monday that 130 police officers are being sent to Marseille region, which expands its ... riot police to enforce masks. So what are they? They're having mass protests. Now, didn't I have another article that was about this, the mask protests? They have very, very large mass protests. Here's another article here. Next article from Newsweek. Anti-mask protest across Europe as coronavirus cases rise 4 days in a row. Here's a picture of the normal people out there protesting for normality. I 100% endorse these people. Definitely don't think that we should be wearing masks. There's too many repercussions that could be made. About 50% of the people who die from COVID are over the average age of death. A third of them have pre-existing conditions such as diabetes and cancer. Cancer kills 600,000 people per year. Diabetes kills 85,000 people per year. If you take out all of those people out of the equation, because you can't really just look at this entire thing like the death rate from this is whatever we're seeing this year. You do have to look at this as over time. What is the total death rate that we're going to see when we start to add in all of the suicides and the people who were also never born into the equation? Because in America, there's about 4 million people born per year. I can't remember exactly. I think it's 4 million. If I'm wrong, comment on realsimplenews.net/issue 80. But there's 200,000 people who die here. Actually, I can do the math because there might be 2,000 people die this year from it. So we can do the math on that. There's about 200,000. It's 5% of the total. Yeah, there's 4 million. About 4 million people born every year. So the deaths from COVID are about 5% of the total births. To put it into perspective, the vast majority of people not the vast majority, half of the people who are dying are over the average age of death, but our birth rate is taking a huge dip. So we're going to end up with less people being born. So, I mean, I'm not saying that we should go out there and cause a lot of people to die for no reason, but you do have to take into account there's about 50,000 people who kill themselves every year in the United States. When the pandemic began, the suicide rate went up 356%. If that continued over the course of a year, then you would see about 200,000 deaths from suicide. It is very traumatic for people to not be able to see people's faces. I saw somebody in the grocery store yesterday, my friend Alberto, hadn't seen him in a long time, and he had a mask on, and I could not recognize him. He started talking to me, and I'm like, what? Huh? But this can cause people to lose connections with people. It can cause a lot of depression. 1 in 4 Americans has contemplated committing suicide recently. I mean, that's 35.5 million people. Hold on. 37 million people, something like that. That's an insane number of people contemplating suicide. There's a lot of harm that can be done. And you do have to understand the mentality of the Democrats and the European liberals who are trying to take over. They think it's their moment to shine. They're going to protect people and that everybody's going to love them. And if you don't listen to the science, then you're a science denier. You're the enemy. You're the one that's causing their loved ones to die. And so they'll lash out at you. And this is the problem of this entire group of people has been doing stuff like this for a long time. They're just getting called out on it. Once you see the behavior pattern that these people engage in with attempting to tell them anything that they want to hear to get them to like on the post, watch the ad, buy the product, and vote for them, you'll find them to be very detestable. That's a pretty scummy thing to do, to force everyone into a lockdown and cause mass amounts of suicide and cause people to delay getting COVID until they have diabetes or cancer. Because I don't have diabetes or cancer right now, but there's absolutely no guarantee that I'm not going to have cancer or diabetes in the future when I get COVID. I am young. I'm in really good shape. I've already had COVID once. I was one of the first people in my town to get it. And I remember hawking. I had so much mucus coming out of me. I had like a booger the size of my nose or my thumb just fall out of my nose one day. It was disgusting. It was like freakish size of my big thumb. Big thumb, because there's a little thumb, right? I'm joking. Well, it's nice to see that not everyone in Europe is brainwashed. They are brainwashed. They're under the spell of China over there. They still think that China is this benevolent dictator, that they're just there to help them. In reality, China is a very bad actor, and they're going to sell us on the worst possible thing that you could possibly sell us on: cultural Marxism. In China, they still have not divorced themselves from China. Or hold on, in Europe, they have not divorced themselves from China yet. So they do engage in authoritarian groupthink over there. They think they're just trying to help people out. They don't understand this is the mentality of a cultural Marxist. The entire reason why they're being nice to you is because they want to wipe out your culture because they hate it. And the only way that they can get you to go along with it is if they're nice to you. So when fascism does come to America, it will be wrapped up in an American flag with a no, that wasn't what this is what they used to say. Hold on. This is that's a phrase that I've said a number of times, but maybe I'm going to have to walk that phrase back. So fascism, when it's coming to America, it's saying, actually, it's not dressed up in an American flag. This is what the people on the left have been saying. No. What has fascism been dressed up as? It's been dressed up like Antifa. It's been dressed up like white feminist. They've been very anti-American. So I'm sorry, walking that statement back. So where are these protests going on? Are they going on in the UK and Germany? It says amid fears of a second wave, the coronavirus outbreak in Europe, hundreds gathered on Sunday in Spanish capital of Madrid and Belgian capital of Brussels to protest against the mandatory wearing of masks and other restrictions imposed by both countries to help curb the spread of the virus. Both protests followed a 4-week streak of rising daily new cases in August 11th through 14th across Europe, which has more than 3.7 million confirmed cases. New cases in the region increased 4 consecutive weeks from the week commencing July 13th. I'm tired of all this fear propaganda, dude. It's like they're like watching the stock market And then anytime the stock market goes up, they're like writing a news article about the stock market, but it's like coronavirus. And it really is just irritating to have to read this all the time. It's called fluff. Fluff is stuff that these companies like Newsweek put into their articles that are such as amid the backdrop of coronavirus cases, there has been increase in coronavirus cases around the country. There's been 163 deaths. And so you usually see it in the context of amid the backdrop or whatever the setting is. And it's because they have to paint the picture for you. But they end up just regurgitating this crap just over and over and over and over and over again. And after a little while, dude, you're like, I'm so sick and tired of talking to them, reading them say, amid the backdrop of coronavirus, where 163,000 people have died in the United States. It's like they have to tell you, like, they have to build up all of the reasons why you should be afraid in all of these articles, and it's called fluff. It's just stuff that you fill in there to fill up the news articles because it's a numbers game. In order to make money with these free articles, you have to put out so many of them because only a small percentage of them are actually going to reach the customer. And they fill them up with fluff. So if you could probably actually fit most of the news story in 1 or 2 paragraphs at most, probably actually more like less than 100 characters even. So the rest of it, they have to just fill up with fluff, and then they start radicalizing themselves on the fake news. They start to believe their own lies, and we get the fake news industrial complex brought to you by Fake News Week, the Daily Fake Mail, the and Jeff Bezos, and who else has got a fake news?